I got the message from Parth Prabhu. Okay, so we'll turn on the cameras in a minute. So we're starting mantra 3 today, Isopanishad. Last week, His Grace Shital Prabhu concluded the mantra 2. So no question has been asked by devotees. So we starting mantra 3. Now, I'm sharing my screen and then we will recite the mantra 3. I will recite first and then I'll get devotees to recite after that. Okay. जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। असूर्या नाम ते लोका अंधेन तमसावृताः तामस्ते प्रेत्याभिगच्छन्ति ये के चात्महनो जनाः। असूर्या नाम ते लोका अंधेन तमसावृताः तामस्ते प्रेत्याभिगच्छन्ति ये के चात्महनो जनाः। असूर्या नाम ते लोका अंधेन तमसावृताः तामस्ते प्रेत्याभिगच्छन्ति ये के चात्महनो जनाः। So intermediate devotees are here. Hare Krishna, Mayuresh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Can you see the screen?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. So, yeah, I'll get you to recite this mantra, please.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavrata tamaste pretyabhikshyanti eke chatma hano jana.
Very good.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Yeah, recite again.
Yeah. Asurya namate loka andena tamsavrata tamste pratyabhikshyanti eke chatma hano jana.
Very nice. So it's yeah, Vritaha and Janaha. Yeah, once more, Prabhu. 3 times.
Asurya namate loka andena tamsavrata tamaste pratyabhikshanti eke chatma hano janaha.
Very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, so is Parth Prabhuji there? Hare Krishna, Parth Prabhu. Okay, I think he sent the message, so he is a bit busy. Who else can there? Is Dolly there? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Dolly.
Hare Krishna.
Will you be able to recite that?
Yes, Prabhu. Asurya nama te loka andena tam sarva tam sabraha
Vritaha.
vritah andhena tam savritah tamasate pratyabhigachanti yeke chatmahano janah
Once more.
ashurya ashur asuryanam te loka andhena tamasa vratah tams tamaste pratyabhigachanti yeke chatmahano janah.
Yes. So it's a Prityabhigachanti. Yes. Okay. I think Hare Krishna Path Prabhu, are you there?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Can you
Yes,
recite the verse, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yeah.
Asurya nama te loka andhena tamasavritah tamaste pretyabhigachanti ye ke chatmahano janah. Asurya nama te loka andhena tamasavritah तामस्ते प्रेत्यभिगच्छन्ति ये के चात्माहनो जनः असूर्यनाम ते लोका अन्धेन तमसावृतः तामस्ते प्रेत्यभिगच्छन्ति ये के चात्माहनो जनः.
Very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. I think, yeah, Somya Mataji joined. Hare Krishna, Somya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Can you recite the verse, please?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, very good.
Suryanama te loka andhena tamasavrita tamsti pretyabhigachanti yeke chatmahano janah.
Yes, Mataji. 3 times.
Okay. Suryanama te loka andhena tamasavrita tamsti pretyabhigachanti ये के चात्माहनो जनः. सूर्यानाम ते लोका अन्धेन तमसावृताः तांस्ते प्रेत्याभिगच्छन्ति ये के चात्माहनो जनः.
Very nice. Thank you. Is Divanshi Mataji here? No. Okay. All right. So I'll recite once more. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavritaha tamste pretyabhigachanti yeke chatma hano janaha. Yeah. What towards Sonam? Translation and purport by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I need a volunteer to read the translation and what was Sonam. So, Mataji, will you be able to read that?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can read.
Okay, thank you.
Asuryaha, meant for the Asuras, Nama, famous by the name, Te, those, lokaha, planets, andhena, by ignorance, tamasa, by darkness, avritaha, covered, tan, those planets, they, pretya, after death, abhigachanti, enter into, ye, anyone, ke, everyone, cha, and atmahana, the killers of the soul, janaha, persons, meant for the asuras, famous by the name, those planets, by ignorance, by darkness, covered, those planets, they, after death, enter into anyone, everyone, and the killers of the soul persons.
Yes. So before we go to translation, we stay with word synonyms and go over again. So, like, this verse is also a continuation from last two verses. So the first verse we studied Isavasyam principle, and that we should only be accepting what is our quota. And hold on, I'll stop this. Yeah. And then second verse or second mantra that we talked about the person who follow the Isavasyam principles, what will happen. So he can, like, work will not bind us, and then he can aspire to live for hundreds of years. And now the karma bandhan and the God-centered activities, that's what we discussed and from last mantra. Now this third one, it talks about what will happen if you don't follow that Isavasyam principle. So, and what will happen? So we will be thrown into the darkness and ignorance. That's from the what version we can understand, the darkness word and the ignorance word. So we will be called killer of the soul. So these dark planets meant for asuras. So if I go back again, so you can see Asurya Nama Te Loka. Asurya meant for asuras. Asur. So Asurya Nama Te Loka, which is covered by tamas and andhena. So that's a darkness and ignorance, andhena and tamas. So then tamaste pretyabhi gachanti. So they, after death, enter into these planets. Which planets? Where this ignorance and all this darkness is. Then again, the last line, ye ke chatma hano janaha. So there is a word called atma hana janaha. So that is person who is a killer of the soul. So those killer of the soul, where they will go? They will go to such planets which they are meant for asuras, and they are full of andhena and tamas, means ignorance and darkness. So we can drive this meaning and understand from word to word synonyms. Now let's go to translation. Yes, Madhuri.
Translation by Prabhupada.
Okay.
The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance.
Yes. So the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter. Whoever he may be, it doesn't matter. If he is a killer of the soul, he must enter into those planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So that's what we discussed before, that we drive the meanings, understanding from the word to word synonyms. So Srila Prabhupada, now this translation gives the clear meaning. So we'll start reading purport, and then we'll discuss para by para the points from it, right? Yes, Mataji. Purport.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Human life is distinguished from animal life due to its heavy responsibilities. Those who are cognizant of these responsibilities and who work in that spirit are called suras, godly persons. And those who are neglectful of these responsibilities or who have no information of them are called asuras, demons. Throughout the universe, there are only these two types of human beings. In the Rig Veda, it is stated that the suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. Their ways are as illuminated as the path of the sun.
Yes. So this is the first para, and Srila Prabhupada are explaining few points that we're going to discuss. So, so there are two types given here: suras and asuras. So suras are who are cognizant of the responsibilities. They are godly, because suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Now, this means that aim of their life or their work is to reach at the lotus feet of the Lord. Because of their aim is clear, so their path is illuminated as sun. Now, we can see in devotee's life as well that a devotee of the Lord is following the clear instructions of his spiritual master. And devotees follow do's and don'ts, clear cut, no, maybe, or perhaps. So if this activity or action is favorable in progressing of Krishna consciousness, then it's okay. If it's not favorable, we don't do it. So this is a big advantage is on the path of bhakti, that we know what is our aim is and what is the process which is given to us by our acharyas. So once we are clear, then there is no confusion. So this clarity must be there in our life, because if we're not clear, we are confused, and in confused state of mind, we do a lot of mistakes. We take bad decisions that affects our life, and we go in wrong directions. So one bad decision can ruin our life, So this clarity comes in the devotee's life because of this reason, that they are suras. They are following the clear-cut instructions from their seniors, from their acharyas, from Srila Prabhupada. And now the asuras, the other hand, so their aim is sense gratification. They are body-centered. Like last verse, we studied God-centered activities, but asuras, they are body-centered. So their activities are body-centered. So three main qualities they have, like ignorance, no faith, and always doubtful. So they neglect the responsibility of human life. So asuras always in ignorance, and their path is not clear, because senses are never satisfied, and there are numerous ways to gratify the senses. So they're always doing different things, It's no one way to gratify the senses. That's why it's confusion. It's not clear. And these two, suras and asuras, are the two kinds that Srila Prabhupada is explaining here. And another one is what is this responsibility of human life, which is talked about here, right? The first line. So this is a heavy responsibility. So responsibility is what? Self-realization. In human life, the aim of life is self-realization and devotion service. So obviously, like if we neglecting that, we're not fulfilling our responsibilities, So we are asuras then. We are not godly. So this is the couple of points from this para. So is there any question regarding this, or any clarity you need on this suras and asuras? Okay. All right. So we'll read further. Yes.
Intelligent human beings must always remember that the soul obtains a human form after an evolution of many millions of years in the cycle of transmigration. The material world is sometimes compared to an ocean, and the human body is compared to a solid boat designed especially to cross this ocean. The Vedic scriptures and the acharyas or saintly teachers are compared to expert boatmen, and the facilities of the human body are compared to favorable breezes that help the boat fly smoothly to its desired destination. If, with all these facilities, a human being does not fully utilize his life for self realization, he must be considered Atmaha, a killer of the soul. Sri Isopanishad warns in clear terms that the killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually.
Yes. So this is another few good points that Srila Prabhupada is explaining here. So first point is that this human body is obtained after transmigration of the soul in different species, 8.4 species, million species. And human life is very valuable and meant for a purpose. And that purpose, if we understand and obtain, that will be perfection of life. So analogy here is given about the material world as an ocean, and human body is a solid boat. And acharyas and Vedic scripture is expert boatman. And the facilities of human body is favorable breeze. Now, we can understand that, okay, ocean, solid boat, and expert boatman, but how these facilities are favorable breeze of human life. If we focus on this point, that when we see that life around us, we have so many facilities, we have, especially nowadays in modern world, we can travel anywhere in the world. We have cars, aeroplane, trains. We can access any information on internet, watch videos on different topics and incidents in the world. And we have the technology talking face to face that we are doing now. So there are so many facilities given to us in this material, but these are material facilities. And then the real facility, the facilities are favorable is talked about here is the suffering and enjoying that we are facing here in this human birth. More of the suffering side, less the enjoying. And this so-called enjoying is also a suffering anyway. But the balance, and if we from the these facilities are favorable, because in these facilities or in these sufferings, we can understand that we're not permanent here. From Vedic literature, we can understand that in a higher planetary system, the demigods or other planetary systems, there is more facilities given there for enjoying and less suffering, so which is not favorable in self-realization. And that's why it is said that even demigods are also wants to get this human life to cross over this ocean. And there is a verse, actually, I want to quote, that's from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, chapter 6, verse 1, where Prahlad Maharaj is saying, his famous verse. Shri Prahlad Uvacha Komar Acharet Pragno Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabham Manusam Janma Tadapi Adruvam Arthadam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved. And although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life, one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. So here, Prahlad Maharaj also mentioning that human body is most rarely achieved. Although it's temporary, but it's meaningful because in human life, we can perform devotional service. And and even slightless amount of devotional service performed can give the perfection, complete perfection. So I'll read a little para from Purport, where Srila Prabhupada are saying that the whole purpose of Vedic civilization and of reading the Vedas is to attain the perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, from the very beginning of life, the brahmacharya system is introduced, so that from one's very childhood, from the age of 5 years, one can practice modifying one's human activities so as to engage perfectly in devotional service. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 40, Swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Modern civilization, not referring to the verdicts of Vedic literature, is so cruel to the members of human society that instead of teaching children to become brahmacharis, it teaches mothers to kill their children even in the womb, on the plea of curbing the increase of population. And if by chance a child is saved, he is educated only for sense gratification. Gradually, throughout the entire world, human society is losing interest in the perfection of life. Indeed, men are living like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of their human life by actually preparing to transmigrate again to the degraded species among the 8.4 million forms of life. So here, Srila Prabhupada are clearly mentioning that, yes, our purpose of life is self-realization, and this current civilization is not training us to do that. So instead, it's training us like cats and dogs, behaving like cats and dogs, degrading life. So another point, Srila Prabhupada are saying that killer of the soul. Sorry, that's the that would be the next para. So we will read that. Is any question so far? Sorry, or any points needs to be clear on? No? Okay.
There are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. The human being is given all facilities for a comfortable life by the laws of nature because the human form of life is more important and valuable than animal life. Why is man given a better life than that of the swine and other animals? Why is a highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of an ordinary clerk? The answer is that a highly placed officer has to discharge duties of a higher nature. Similarly, the duties human beings have to perform are higher than those of animals, who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomachs. Yet, the modern soul-killing civilization has only increased the problems of the hungry stomach. When we approach a polished animal in the form of a modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach and that there is no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite his denunciation of the need for self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill his stomach, he is always threatened by unemployment.
Yes. So here are a few points we're going to discuss that Srila Prabhupada are mentioning here. So yeah, the first we discussed that the purpose of life, the self-realization, and how important is the this human life is. Now there is another word mentioned in the purpose. In the translation is the killer of the soul. The killer of the soul. That is who's destined to enter into this darkest region. And there is another point, is they're suffering perpetually in the darkest region. So first we want to understand, what do you mean by killer of the soul? Because from Bhagavad Gita, we also we know that the soul cannot be killed, soul cannot be cut into pieces or this. So what do you mean by killing the soul or killer of the soul? Is any idea or any comment you wanna? Yes, Prabhuji or Mataji, what do you think about killer of the soul?
So,
Yes, Prabhu.
yes, Prabhu, we have read that. I think this is a literary device, because soul cannot be killed. We have read this, that soul is eternal. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. Soul is eternal, but Prabhupada are saying here killer of the soul. So I think that killer of the soul, meaning like just referring it to, when we've also read that the Prabhupada says that Mayavadis are people who do spiritual suicide, right? That their end goal is to merge into this Brahman. So the goal of the soul, the dharma of the soul, they're not doing that. So maybe something related to that, that a killer of the soul is basically someone who's not following, or who's not aiming towards the ultimate good for the soul or the ultimate benefit for the soul. So maybe that connects.
Right. Good points. We'll go to other devotees also. Yes, Mataji, Somaya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare.
Yes, Prabhuji, I agree with Pal Prabhu that yes, the soul cannot be killed. But I think what is Prabhupada are referring over here is that the duty of the soul, or the entire purpose of what the soul is meant to do, when you are stopping yourself, when you're not doing anything of that kind, then you are stopping the soul from actually pursuing its true goal. And so in that way, you are killing the soul, because you're not letting it do what it actually wants to do. So I think that is what is meant over here.
Yes. No, thank you. Thank you for your points. Is Mayuresh Prabhu there? Yes. Hare Krishna, Mayuresh Prabhu. I think he might be out somewhere. Okay. Yes. It's good points, Prabhuji, Pas Prabhu. And,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Mayuresh Prabhu. So, we're discussing on the killer of the soul. So, what do you think? What that means? Who is the killer of soul, or what does that mean, killer of soul? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Mayuresh Prabhu. Okay, I think having a problem. Oh, Mayuresh Prabhu sent the message that his mic is not working. Okay, Prabhuji, that's all right. So you can mute yourself. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. So it's good points. Actually, it's correct that killer of the soul means, it's not like literal meaning here, but we need to understand first that what is the purpose of the soul. You know, the purpose of the soul is eternal servant of Krishna. It's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita that in Madhya Lila, chapter 20, verse 108 and 109. It's a famous verse as well, so I'll read that. Jivera Svarupahaya Krishnera Nityadas Krishnera Tathastha Sakti Bheda Bheda Parkas Suryamsa kirna yacha agni javala chaya swabhavika krishnera tina prakara shakti haya. Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation simultaneously one and different from the Lord, like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire. Krishna has three varieties of energy. So here it mentioned that Jivera Savrupahaya Krishna Nityadas. So the soul's purpose is to servant of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna. So this purpose, if you kill this purpose, or if you're not fulfilling this purpose, then it is just as good as killing the soul. Like if any things what is made for, and if you're not fulfilling that, then it's just as good of killing that thing. So here, if you're not fulfilling that purpose of the soul, then we are called killer of the soul. So that was correct answers. Yes. So, and then we will be thrown into the perpetual ignorance and darkness. So once you fall down in these lower planetary systems, where it says that is meant for asuras, then coming out of these lower to middle planets is nearly impossible. And because there is no favorable facilities available there for self-realizations. And some of the planets, we heard from His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, and it's from Srimad Bhagavatam, that their facilities are very advanced, and you not be able to come out of it. So that's why it's very, very important when we have this human birth, is to value it, to know this purpose of the life, and don't be a killer of the soul. So yes, so these are the main points. But then the other points about the animal species, that the lower animal necessities are just as important. Their necessities are just as important to them as ours to us. So this means that, like, we think about our family and maintenance and our relatives and society, etc. Same way, animals also got their necessities which are important to them. So they so their necessity is also very important to them. So this is a wrong thinking that we humans are meant to kill other animals for food and exploit all the natural resources because we are very important, our center of the universe. No, every species got their own economic necessities. The only difference is that in animal kingdom, economic problems solved and in nasty and unpleasant conditions. Like in jungle, the fittest is the survivor. So conditions are very harsh, but that is nature's way to maintain. But for human beings, facilities are given for comfortable life. And we have nice houses to protect from heat and cold, and we have nice beds to sleep on and varieties of nice food, etc. All these facilities and comforts given to us for a purpose. And the analogy given here is a high class officer and like or a judge and a clerk, So where the higher the facilities, the higher the responsibilities. So it's not like we can do anything. Like if a judge, he can't just his responsibility is very high because he has to make decisions. And on the other hand, the clerk, he's just doing the paperwork. That's it. He doesn't have any responsibility. Same like animals and human beings. Humans have more responsibility. So now Srila Prabhupada are mentioning here the modern civilized man as a polished animal in the purpose. So like, because the aim is to satisfy the stomach, and that there is no need to self-realization for a hungry stomach or hungry man. There is a saying in Hindi also said that bhuke pet na bhajan hoy gopala. So so they try to keep the stomach empty. How they do it? They create this fear. They create this civilization where unemployment, always fear of unemployment there, and they just try to and this civilization is and they create a scarcity of food, scarcity of unemployment, and people always in fear and always stay in this satisfying stomach level. They don't want to go over. So, and even so-called advancement of this modern society and this animalistic, because this society is animalistic, the civilization, it is not a human level even. And their problem is also different. Like if in modern societies, you can hear it that if so-called modern parents, if their daughter is not dating someone, they got tension. If their son didn't get any desired job, or they get depression or even suicide, So these type of economic advancements, that is also animal level, It's not advancement really. It is a different variety of different animalistic life, So it's like living relationships, nowadays. So that is a animal platform. It's not a civilized thing. So it's let alone this higher responsibility of human life. These people, like nowadays, the modern society, even do not want to take the responsibility of family and wife, So let alone the higher responsibility. So this is the degradation of the soul, killing civilization. And that's what Srila Prabhupada are mentioning here, that about the soul killing civilization, that the increased this problem of hungry stomach. So so is any question or any comment on these points on this so far? No? Okay. Let's see if we can hit further. Yes, Martin.
We are given this human form of life not to work hard like asses, swines, and dogs, but to attain the highest perfection of life. If we do not care for self-realization, the laws of nature force us to work very hard, even though we may not want to do so. Human beings in this age have been forced to work hard like the asses and bullocks that pull carts. Some of the regions where the asuras are sent to work are revealed in this mantra of Sri Isopanishad. If a man fails to discharge his duties as a human being, he is forced to transmigrate to the Asuriya planets and take birth in degraded species of life to work hard in ignorance and darkness.
Yes. So, so Srila Prabhupada is saying that if we're not careful, that we'll made to work even harder on this. And we can see in modern society also that today's world, if you go to any factory, or the conditions are very harsh, and you work very harder, the working conditions are very hard. And still, they made to work harder, in some of the new what you call, where they make cars and all different manufacturer facilities. So it's not easy to work there, but still because of this staying at hungry stomach mentality, all the time. Yeah. Because it's not meant for human society. And in Vedic ways, there was a varnashrama system, In that varnashram system, there was this these needs were taken care of easily, like people were working in the fields, growing the food grains and growing things, and then they have sufficient time left over to read scriptures or for self-realization. But now the whole time goes into just employment, running around and everywhere. So even the study we are doing, that also towards that aim that we'll get a nice employment, the whole time it goes into that. It's not, that study is meant for fitting us into the society. It's not the purpose of self-realization study, So that is also soul-killing civilizations, one of the thing, one of the points. So yeah, so this whole system that is developed is towards the killing the soul, and which is pushing us in the darkness and ignorance. And another point here is saying that it's send us to that planets, as I just mentioned before, that in those planets, there are different planets, lower planetary system and higher planetary system than we are. So in lower planetary system, there are different lokas, and the lowest is the hell, different types of narc. So there suffering is very high. But again, like once you are in there, in that system, it's very hard to come out. Very hard to come out. So it's very dangerous situation. But how we know? Because in modern society, we don't know. People they don't have any awareness of this fact unless they are reading Srila Prabhupada books, reading the scriptures. So we get to know that this is the situation. The whole society, we will read further in this Isopanishad, it's a culture of nescience. It's a culture of nescience. So yes, I think what's the time now? 5-6 minutes. So is any questions so far? Because we will cover the rest of the purport next week, because it's not very big purport. So we'll discuss more points next week. So is any comment or questions, please? All right, I think we'll conclude here now for today. Thank you very much for joining the class. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Are you there?